All right, we'll do another update video here on the Camry. So we put a lower rad support in it, just actually a piece of like some shelving support. So chop that off, weld it in there. Now I'm still cutting it up and fabricating it because we have a radiator to put in and we have an intercooler to put in. So you can see we've got some pieces that showed up. We got this DNA motoring radiator, which is super cheap. I don't recommend anybody buys it, to be honest, but we're gonna make a review video on that and I'll go over all the details. So if you wanna know more about it, go check that video out. And then we've got the Mishimoto intercooler. This is one of their cheaper intercoolers. It's rated for, I think 22 pounds of boost and 500 horsepower maximum. So I wanted it somewhat smaller. I was looking at a bigger one, but as you can see with the bumper, the lower grille opening, we don't have a whole lot of entry, but there is also gonna be some air coming up from underneath of the bumper as well. And we've got that crash bar that sits out in the front that goes across here. So I may end up modifying that slightly to act as more of like an air scoop type deal where the air that comes in through the bumper will have some room to go up and through the intercooler. And I'm going to box it all in so that the air gets forced through the intercooler and it has nowhere else to go. But you can see I'm going to be mounting it on a slight angle, probably about like that. And then obviously the radiator will be in behind that. So I do need to cut this, like I say, and make custom mounting locations for this radiator. This is not the Camry rad. Keep in mind we are running the 2JZ, so I wanted to keep the IS300 radiator because that radiator is designed for that engine and it's proven to work. So that's what I was going to use, and that's what I'm going to use. So I did replace it with this aftermarket one, like I said, because the one that was in the car, I'm almost certain it was original. The seams were leaking on it, and it was just old. It needed to be replaced.
500,000 kilometer original, right?
Yeah. But these rad fans, I tested them and ran them for 10 or 15 minutes straight, and they run good. Cleaned them all up. They actually cleaned up pretty nice. Cleaned out the overflow reservoir. And these motors, the casing on the back was kind of rusty. It wasn't extremely rusty, but it was pretty rusty. So cleaned that all up nice and painted it and whatnot. And then my radiator support bushings were missing. And I have a feeling they were like rotted out and like crappy. So I actually took these off of a 2006 Ford Focus, and they actually fit quite well. Now they're supposed to be in this way, but I'm going to obviously do custom work and fit them in this way, and they'll work out just fine. That's great. Yeah, just we'll make a review video on this radiator because it's a pile of crap, but it should work just fine. I did pressure test it for 15 or 20 minutes and it was fine, so that was okay. But pretty much finished up the frame. I welded more pieces on underneath like I was saying I was going to do, so that's done. And then yeah, really just been like, this ate up so much time. I work every day, so I only have so much time at the end of the day, and by the time you get working and things and then you have to clean up, 3 hours goes by pretty quick. Before we end this video, I did also pick up some coilover suspension. Now this is for an IS300, so these are going to be the rear shocks, and they will bolt right into the subframe, of course. So that's fantastic. Now the front shocks, I was trying to think of a way that I could get that to work. Now the front shocks are very similar to these, except a little bit different. So you can see the mount there is shorter. However, it runs a different style of bottom compared to the Camry struts. Those are McPherson struts, and this style of suspension has a double control arm, but the top mount on this one does not pivot. It does not have a bearing on the top. Now, when I pivot it like this, turn it, it's actually turning the stanchion that goes into the shock body, and we don't want that. That's no good. So I was trying to think of a way that I would be able to utilize the upper strut mount with the bearing and somehow convert it. And then this lower section here actually just unthreads, and the pressurized gas portion is the center that has all the threads on it. So I thought, well, if I could transfer the mount onto this and then either make new pieces where the bolts go through and then weld those onto here, I could do that. However, the main disadvantage of doing that would be the actual stanchion portion, which is this here, that bar that goes into the shock. That's your stanchion. It is a smaller diameter than the factory size, even compared to replacement coilovers. The size is like double, and I believe the reason for that is obviously overall strength and rigidity. Seeing is just the style of the suspension and the way it is, how you turn the wheel and the strut is turning with it, and now the wheel's on a different angle and the strut's taking all the load, instead of like on the IS300 where you've got the knuckle and the control arms taking a lot of that load, all the suspension itself rather than just the shock. So more of a safety thing really is I didn't want to do that and then have a shock break or bend or something like that, and then, you know, got nice wheels on the car and takes a fender out or get in an accident or hurt somebody, right? So we don't want to do that. But I did order from the same company. These are cheap shocks. They're honestly like the cheapest ones I could find from Amazon. And the company name it's like FAPO, F-A-P-O. So they're just Chinese, cheap, crappy shocks. I'm sure the seals will probably blow out on them in like a couple of years, but they get the job done right now. They do the job. So also, before I forget to tell you, I did go ahead and get these Strong Flex bushings, this whole kit. And it comes with, I got a complete bushing kit for the rear subframe for the IS. So we got replacement bushings for literally like the frame mounts, and then also all of the bushings for all of the arms and stuff that are on the rear frame and where the diff mount is. So there's quite a few bushings. That's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow once I finish up this radiator support and get these things mounted up and locked up where they need to go. I'm going to be then doing the rear subframe, dropping that down, taking all of the arms and everything off, gonna sandblast it. We have an industrial sandblaster here, and get the frame painted. And we'll be putting new bushings in all of the linkages and arms and frame and all that stuff, get everything all done up nice, and then I'll be able to get the new shocks in so we can set the rear ride height. And the new shocks for the Camry on the front are coming in about a week. So it really sucked. I emailed around to over a dozen companies to try and see if they would sell just two shocks out of the kit, because everybody wants to sell you a set of shocks for the car, right? However, in my situation, I need just Camry front shocks and I need just Lexus IS rear shocks. And all these companies didn't want to sell just two shocks. They wanted to sell you the set. Well, it's expensive, but a few companies did say they would sell you just the front Camry shocks or just the rear Lexus shocks, but they wanted an insane amount of money, like $450, $600 US each, plus shipping, and it's just not worth it. So like I say, Amazon, they're just about $500 per set of shocks, Canadian, and that includes shipping and duty charges and all that stuff. So, I mean, $1,000, and then nice thing about those is like you can completely disassemble them and interchange pieces. So I'll have an extra set of springs, and I believe these, like the front and the back shocks, the center section that actually has like the seal, the actual shock portion that's on the inside. I believe they're the same across the front and the back. It's just the lower portions are different, but the like you can see the coils between the two. The coils are the same, the tops are the same. I'm pretty sure everything is the same except for those. So if I have back shocks that blow out, I'll have 2 backups ready to go. So that's pretty much it for this update video. I know it looks like we haven't really got a lot done, but believe it or not, I've put in probably 30 hours or more just in fabrication work alone. And hopefully we'll have more done here in the next week or 2. I'm just gonna keep on motoring. I'm on holidays, so I'll be able to just crank out day after day here. So got any comments, throw them in or questions, throw them in the comment section below. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll hopefully see you soon.